like I said, we gonna we gonna have a conversation today. It's one that has the potential for some fireworks. It's depend on your perspective, really. But this right here is potentially will be the pilot episode of a debate show that we may kick off. Who knows? One of the reasons why I'm excited about this particular debate is because I do want to show how people with different perspectives can come together and discuss something without there being a bunch of name calling. Because that's where we at right now as a society. I think one of the things we did, all politics and all that kind of stuff aside, one of the things we did when we elected the last president that we did, who behaves in a certain manner, is we excused certain behavior that we would probably chastise our children for. So now you can't even have any kind of discourse whatsoever without there being some below the belt arrows and stuff being thrown in. So one of the things I'm excited about is being able to have a very potentially fireworks worthy debate about something, but with a brother that I know can handle it in a way and in a manner where respect gonna be maintained. And hopefully you guys are entertained by the debate, but also get to learn something. This pilot episode is gonna feature someone I got a lot of respect for. I appreciate some of the work that this guy is doing behind the scenes. I definitely respect his mind, his educational background. Somebody that's been exposed to a lot of different kinds of people, a lot of different environments. And I think he has something to offer with his voice, with his intelligence. And that's none other than a brother named Lamont McCravy. How you doing, Lamont?
I'm doing all right. I almost feel like should have been a drum roll or some hand claps behind that, but I appreciate it. But also, also the respect is mutual because I know and I respect your intelligence and highly intelligent, gifted brother who do a lot of work behind the scenes also too. And I'm just thankful to be a part of this podcast and and continue this debate that we started on the shop floor.
So without further ado, the subject that we talking about that we're gonna go ahead and tackle. One of the things that you can see just by looking at this broadcast here is how many different like contrasting shades of black that Black America includes. And I'm gonna just get straight to the topic. One of the things I know I asked Lamont, I don't know if I asked him this or somehow we came to discussing this subject here. And that is among the black community, I'm really curious about who has a harder time, light skinned brothers and sisters or darker skinned brothers and sisters. I ain't really it's really not relevant to the debate what kind of time our caramel brothers and sisters have. Um,
no.
but I'm really talking about really fair skin versus darker skin who has a tougher time within our community. Now, I must preface the debate by saying it goes without saying that this has some historical implications to it. Everybody knows how this country was birthed, how this country gained its wealth, and that was through slave trade, free labor. That's how we came up. And we are descendants of slaves. I know my ancestry has been traced back. I think you spoke a little bit in that regard as well.
Yeah.
So we're both descendants of slaves. And within that dynamic, we know that among the slaves, after some generations, there were some different shades that developed because of rape.
Yes.
The owner or the master, if you will, you know, raping girls and then having biracial children as a result. And there's some things that happen as a result of that I'm sure Lamont's gonna get further into that's within our DNA, probably has some implications on how we treat each other now, even to this day. But it is my contention that within the black community, we as light skinned folks get treated much worse than dark skinned folks. Now, my debate brother right here, you being a guest in the inaugural episode, I'll defer to you. Do you want to first give your points as to why you think otherwise, or would you like to hear my points first? I'll defer to however you want to start this debate off.
Well, I guess uh, as a preamble to the rest of this debate or conversation, I would rather call it a conversation than a debate.
I like that. I like
You
that. I
know,
might even, yeah, I like that.
you know what I'm saying? A debatable conversation, so to speak. I feel as looking through TV, film, history, that it has always made fun of the darker skinned African Americans, and so we were always, from the annals of history in America, from slavery on up, that we were looked upon in a harsher way that I believed in lighter skin or fair skinned black people, because they were forcing the black or darker skin to be in the field because they felt they could stay in there longer, because of, if you get into physiology dealing with melanin is able to absorb sunlight and also reflect it back, which that's why we as black Americans or darker skinned people, we never really suffer from melanoma skin cancer, the lack of melanin. So we were able to stay out in fields longer and not, be hurt by being in prolonged hours of sunlight in the cotton fields. So then, once lighter shades, due to, as you stated earlier, raping and everything, and lighter skin or lighter shades of black people started to be produced in here in America, they were almost allowed, because someone would take more of the traits of the slave master, which would make them even lighter or even more closer to their complexion than the darker skin. And those are the ones they started allowing to be able to come into their houses and be and work side by side with them. And so, in a sense, that was the start of creating this dichotomy of changes, or which was still an institutionalized way of causing some type of separation and divide between the darker skin and the lighter skin black people. And I think through that, which is a psychological term called Stockholm syndrome, uh, I'm later on, I'm gonna use too. It's called the DSM-5, which is a diagnostic and statistical manual for mental disorders. They had the fifth edition that was revived in 2022. Now comes up with a whole thing about dealing with race, and has certain terminologies they use about that. But I'm gonna go back to what Stockholm syndrome is, and I think a lot of black people suffer from. The causes of Stockholm syndrome is, first off, survival mechanism. Victims subconsciously align with the captors to reduce the threat of violence. And so therefore, if you was a lighter skinned person and you was in the house and you were getting treated a little different and they didn't treat you as harshly as you did the darker skin, I think it would lead to you to feel, after, in the end, it caused discord, because you would try to do whatever it was to be able to survive without getting hurt, whipped, or anything like that. And then they would show another steps of Stockholm syndrome is they would show you small acts of kindness, the isolation, and the dependence. The dependence was all African Americans at the time of slavery was a part of the Stockholm syndrome, was that last part. Dependence was all, we were all dependent on that. Whether the lighter skin, what we deem as the house, excuse my friend, house nigga, and the field nigga. All of still was dependent on the slave master. But then, by them isolating the lighter skin, allowing them to be in certain areas and dealing more closely with them, the slave masters, uh, they will allow certain kindness and treatments that made us or the darker skin. I'm putting myself. You see, I put myself as a us. The darker skin feel niggas at a feeling like okay, okay, and then I think that was the start of where this dichotomy came, where the where this internal African American racism that it started right then, that exists, it still exists to this day. Even Spike Lee made the movie School Days uh in the late 80s, which was a a a, a preview or a picture of showing difference between lighter skin and dark skins, even with sororities and fraternities that existed with even in our own, because this was a predominantly all black school that was portrayed in School Days, and they show even the racial tension and the racial divide that happened even there, even in the 80s. I'm gonna stop for a second and see what you got to say towards that.
I agree with probably everything you said because what you spoke eloquently on is the history of light skinned people getting treated a certain way versus dark skinned people. But to me, a lot of what you were speaking on, which I agree with, has to do with how either side is treated outside of our community. You did reference School Days, which is, that references to HBCU. But other than that, like, a lot of what you spoke to was, I guess, the reasons why you would say darker skinned people get treated differently or, less than these days. Those are reasons why you would say that happened. But again, I didn't hear a lot of examples on what actually happens to dark skinned people within our community right now and what actually happens to light skinned people within our community right now. But again, I acknowledge that we probably do. Matter of fact, let me get a little bit more relaxed. I've
You do
been
that. You do
I've been a
that.
little bit too buttoned up during this first part of this debate, but let's go ahead and get jiggy. Let's
Okay,
go
get
ahead and get
jiggy.
jiggy with it. Yeah, yeah. So first of all right, I am here to represent the light skinned delegation. First of all, yes.
Really?
Let
Really?
me throw up my light skin set right right now. If I could, you
I don't
can't
think
see.
you have. I
I'm doing
don't
a
think
little
you have
light
a
skin
choice.
crip.
I don't think you have a
crip.
choice. I don't think you have a
No,
choice
no. It's
unless
not
you
much
put on black,
choice.
unless you do blackface.
Not much choice going on at all. And it's interesting because that is where it starts with this is that your own bloodline. But here's why I say it's obvious. And yes, I'm not your typical sensitive light skinned brother. I'm a very confident light skinned brother.
Yes.
Uh, so I will be taking belt to tail during this during this debate. But anyway, nah, above all that, seriously though, one reason why I can definitively say that within our community, again, you're absolutely right about how we get treated outside the community, but within our community, I believe we have it tougher because I believe we're no different than any other species walking around. Like like all animals, including human beings, have this trait in common, and that is I would call it majority rules. Wherever you have any kind of social beings in a group, whatever the majority is, that's really they're going to dictate what's going on. They're going to have the biggest influence. They're going to rule over the minority. That's what happens in any kind of setting. Whether you're talking about a pack of wolves, whether you're talking about human beings, whether you're talking about different races, whatever it is that majority is, that's what's going to rule the situation. Even how we came about, taking a vote. The way we take a vote is whatever the like-minded people are, that's who wins in whatever's going on. So We know that's in any environment, whether you talking about prison, whether you talking about school, whether you talking about work, wherever there's a majority somewhere, that majority is going to rule over the minority. It's just human and animal nature. And so
I
I think that happens even within our community. Like the majority of us is not light skinned. The majority of us does have melanin because that's how I mean, that's even how we're described as being black people because of the melanin that we have. So those that have less of the melanin is the minority. And in any and all cases, the majority is going to rule the minority. Sometimes that happens with oppression. Sometimes it's not it's not oppressive. Sometimes it may just be a little bit unfair or, a little bit aggressive, but it's always going to occur. To me, when it starts, and again, I'm talking about within our community, where it starts is very, 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 very early within
childhood development.
childhood.
Yeah, childhood
Yeah,
development.
yeah, very early within childhood and within my own family because first of all, I got no issues in my family. My family is a very loving family. My family took care of me. My family loved all on me. Nobody treated me I was not abused in no kind of way. I was not treated less than in any kind of way. But where my family did play a part was I definitely got these jokes. I definitely got these jokes. There was a joke within my own kind of immediate family. I'm not going to even say which which family member I heard it from first. That said I was the white dude in the family.
Well,
Um, so
yeah.
that's where it started. Then it continued very early in elementary school. I went to elementary school in Chocolate City herself, Washington, D.C., where in my elementary school, I lied to you not, anybody who grew up in the 80s in Washington, D.C. can tell you this is very common. It was 100% black, my elementary school. 100%
I
black. And the joke within the school was I was the white dude in the school.
bless bless you for being light skinned 3 times.
That was a joke. I was the white dude in the school. So it starts very early. Now, I'm not sensitive about it because I don't know if it's because of the fact that I did hear it every single day, probably of my life, some kind of reference to my lack of a melanin that I hear every single day. Maybe that hardened me. Maybe it did. I don't know to where it doesn't really affect me that way, I mean, that much. But the fact does remain that I do, and continue to hear every single day within my own community some reference to um my lack of melanin or my light skin complexion. Did you want to respond to any of that before I
Yeah,
go
automatically I
ahead?
wanted to hit you. I had to sit down. I don't know if you've seen how I try to tie it in. I'm not going to concentrate. I brought up my point about slavery and history at that moment. That's not where I'm still going to focus on, but I have to nail this point home that is the start. And without anything, it still will start. And at that time, they were not the majority. They ruled, but they were not the majority. It was always way more slaves on a plantation than it was slave masters. It was just because they inflicted fear and all kind of stuff like that through Stockholm syndrome and through other methods and means that they used through violence. But they were not the majority. But you were saying like majority rules. But at the time, so a lot of the emphasis that they placed that stigmatized and traumatized and created this perpetual divide amongst the races started in slavery. So still, no matter how we even act and what we did through the day, it's a perpetual wheel that's been spinning that started back then.
Let me
Now
ask you,
we'll
can I cut you off real quick and
yes,
ask you
sir.
something? Just to ask you, just to follow up on something. I'm not disagreeing with you. You said something that kind of surprised me to hear you say. So you spoke to the slave master not being the
Majority.
majority. You have to be talking about maybe like on singular plantations, right? Because I'm sure you're not saying that in the United States of America that the slaves were more populous than white folks. You couldn't possibly be saying that, right?
Yes,
You're
I
saying
think
that
I
there
am.
were more slaves. You're saying that in the United States of America there were more slaves than white people.
At a time, let me get I'm trying to dig up that statistic. That's why I was digging. I hate I let that out the bag before I could, because I got my notes and I got my other little laptop and my phone trying to, because I looked all this up. I wanted to come with real statistics.
Whatever you need to do, because you're gonna need all that to defeat me in a debate. But go ahead.
I know that's,
Whatever you need to
I mean,
do.
I know. I feel like I know that's how the white man think. I mean, I'm just saying that.
There we go. There we go. You know what? I might have gone all day without hearing one, but hey, it didn't hit midnight yet, so I had to get one.
Yeah, you had to get one. But you know you're gonna get multiples from me. Multiples, especially
Yeah, yeah. Please, please.
especially during this debate.
But go
But
ahead.
anyway, but you go ahead and allow me, because I know you always got points and counterpoints that I can still follow while I get the statistical information. Because I'm initially, well, let me say this before I even get the statistics out, because I will hold it up on the phone, or I'll tell you to Google or where to research it at. But that uh at the initial start of slavery, yes, it was more Caucasians than African. But once they found out the great use and the great potential of financial benefit that we had on these plantations and how we was able to, yes, they pulled us in by the thousand. You got to understand. I got on my arm right now. Did you know 80 million slaves died during the Middle Passage? 80 million. No disrespect to another race that, talks about a certain amount of deaths, but 80 million African American. Now that's factual. Over 80 million died during the Middle Passage. So that means they were bringing us in by the millions, from Cuba to Haiti to Puerto Rico to Louisiana, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia, by the millions, by the millions.
I mean, I don't know enough about what kind of numbers they was doing on them ships to be able to debate you on that. But I guess the question I would have then, because I've never this. I'm already excited about this debate because I've never heard this before. You're saying, okay, as millions and millions and millions of slaves are being, well, I don't know how much are making it because to your point, they died in the Middle Passage.
Yeah, a
So
lot of
I
them
don't know
died.
how much that does speak to how many people actually made it here. But at some point, you're saying that however many millions did make it here, it's still mind boggling to me that you're saying that just numerically speaking, it were slaves were the majority. My immediate follow up has got to be then when in the world did we become such a minority to the tune that we've never even been at 20%. Well, I'm sorry, I can't say never because you're saying at one time we was a majority. When did we get to be this vast minority to where now the numbers are definitely within our lifetimes less than 20%? I mean, we're
Numerical
less than 20%.
numerical manipulation and propaganda.
I'm
Right
sorry,
now,
what?
numerical manipulation and propaganda to express. Don't get me wrong. Right now, it's called the Latin explosion. Right, the Latin explosion is taking place now. WASP. I don't know if you know the acronym or what WASP mean. That's white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. The WASP are getting real concerned and they are manipulate. That's why, no disrespect, that's why they celebrated when I think Kate plus 8, when she had the quintuplets and all like that. Whenever they can have multiple children at one time, it's celebrated because their numbers was dwindling all along. They were never into mass production. We were like the breeders. We have always been known as mass breeders, people of colors, from the Hispanics to African Americans. We mass breed. We have gangs and gangs and gangs of children.
I don't I don't want there to be any confusion about what you're saying, because I really wanna hone
Okay,
in
I'm
on this.
I'm trying to get these numbers for you now. I'm still.
It sounds to me like now you're you're not just saying that were the majority during slavery. You're tripling down and saying that it's a lie that we're the minority now. You're saying we the majority in the United States of America. That's
Oh
what.
no, no, not right now. No. No, not
Okay, so
right
when
now.
you
But
say the numerical
I was speaking in
manipulation,
times of like 1773, 1772, 1700s, like that right there. Because even in the thing that I read, even at that time, uh, it was even in 1776, they say it was half a million, at least half a million enslaved people in the 13 colonies. But in certain colonies out of the 13, yes, African American population outnumbered the colonists or the slave owners or the white or Caucasian people. So what I'm saying, I guess maybe let me digress just slightly a little bit. Maybe what I'm saying is basically as a person that's from the South, and kind of concentrating a little bit from this southern area in the southern colonies, it was a bigger African American population that existed than the colonists or Caucasian population in the South. Now, in the North or Yankee or the Yankees, as I might have on my head in the Yankee areas, yes, it was it was less African American population. But so I guess I would. So you know what? I will backtrack and say no, we didn't out popularize them. So I misquote that. But I was just speaking for the lower colonies that practiced slavery from Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, predominantly, and Virginia. Yes, we outnumbered the even in 1776, we outnumbered the colonists. But the northern territories, the other colonies and everything, no, we did not. That's why we migrated,
I don't.
that's why a lot of them migrated to the north to get away from, you know, and it was just mainly like they instituted a thing of fear that, like I said, that's why Stockholm syndrome is very, very, very important to remember. Because this is a thing that they practice and they embed it in a certain way, that this is one of those things that, in a sense, help change the molecular and the genetic structure or the mentality, to take it to another place, of how people for generations. So after we even became free after 1864 and all like that, we still was in a perpetual state as a black community of not knowing what to do. And we had already, in a sense, had predisposed prejudices amongst ourselves that was, it's almost like, it was like institutionalized racism. Just like right now, you have some Caucasian that inherently, because they don't even know why they do not like white black people. Start even from that same thing, why they do not like black people, whether light skin or dark skin. This thing has been perpetuated where it perpetuates and carries on and on. And it's sort of, in a sense, it becomes kind of genetically imprinted on us. So now even
So
okay, go ahead.
so okay. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
No, no,
sorry.
no, no.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, no, no.
Well, the I guess, and I don't I didn't intend to spend too much time belaboring this point, but again, it was just a really shocking point to me. So now, but you adjusted that to in the South.
You and anybody who may see this to go do their research and like that. I mean, I know I should have more data than and I did, but I've been hitting other
So
stuff
this
on my
was an
phone.
impromptu part of it, though. I mean, I get why you might not have that in front of you. This was an impromptu
Yeah. Yes, sir.
part of the debate. But moving, I mean, unless you had anything else on,
No, no, let's get to the day because you still
okay,
light and I'm still dark. That ain't changed. That's evident.
yeah, that's not gonna change unless one of us pulls a Michael Jackson.
And that ain't happening with me. I still like my broad nose and my complexion.
I feel you. I feel you. So
But he ended up looking,
I'm a,
but in his death, he ended up looking like you.
you know what? That's a good place. That's a good place to be right there. Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you another reason why we got it a little worse. So like so imagine if we were born, let's say Jim Crow or before, to where you can be called all kind of names. You can be called outside your name based on the color of your skin. And there are folks all over the place that's mad comfortable with doing so because it's not even frowned upon. Like this is just society. Like, um, uh, get over here, boy. So and so. Where regular folks is comfortable talking like this. Like, you're growing. Like we didn't. I have never experienced anything like that before, as far as experienced. Um, Even people who live in the South now, that's lived long enough to have experienced it, hasn't really experienced it like that. Like that, like what was going on, Jim Crow, pre-Jim Crow, all that, right? So where it's everything and anything is just fair game, right? So that's an advantage right there that exists within our community among light skin versus dark skin. In that people who aren't light skinned, even white people, but that's a little bit of a cheat code because I said among our community. So jury, strike the white people part from the from the record. I'll strike that part from it. But within our community, it's open season at all times on light skin jokes, light skin comments, different names outside your name and all that. It's always open season for that. And again, I'm not even crying about it. I'm just saying that is what it is. We are in, as far as I'm not talking about policies. I'm not talking about violence against. I'm not talking about any of that stuff that we experienced during Jim Crow as a people. I'm only talking about how comfortable people are calling you outside your name based on the color of your skin. We are the ones that experience that today, today among our community. And conversely, we are not comfortable, as we probably shouldn't be, in reciprocating that to our dark skinned brothers and sisters, i.e., just bear with me for a second. I've been doing the podcast for a minute. My mom was featured on a podcast or two, and
Yes,
I've
sir.
heard from good friends. I mean, multiple good friends, that was complimenting me about the podcast that included a comment like, "Man, your mama light is on or what? Boy, your mama light your mama light is on, boy." Um, and
Yeah.
and look, I don't take any kind of like personal offense to it because again, I'm not sensitive. But I'm citing that as a way to say how comfortable people are at doing that when it's light skin. And there's no way that I would ever feel any sort of comfort in saying to any of my darker skinned brothers and sisters, boy, your mama blacker than a mug, ain't she? No way. It's no
Yeah,
way. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it. Now, there may
but
be some
that
people who
happens
are.
too. But that happens
It,
too.
it, oh, check it out. Check it out. Check it out. I agree with you. I agree with you that it happens too. But you know what else happens too nowadays? You still got people who openly make racist comments nowadays. But my point is how comfortable somebody is in doing it and how prevalent it is in somebody doing it. Again, I hear this every day. You're saying it happens too. You're right. I guarantee you, It's somebody that's saying making a black joke. It's somebody that's making a dark skin joke. It's somebody that's doing the African booty scratcher thing, or the a tar joke. Somebody's going there with it, right? But it's frowned upon though. Like if they was to do that in public, they would probably be made to apologize. If they was to do that in public, they probably made to apologize. But it's open season on Lightskin, Breakfast Club. They got that dynamic between Charlemagne and Envy, where where his jokes are more light skinned, driven. But Envy's jokes, when he got to return fire as Charlemagne, it ain't dark skinned jokes. That's not what it is. It's something about something else. So my point is, it's more comfortable for anybody to make any sort of those comments, and so we live with that. We live with that every day. We live with that all day. And while I'm not sensitive about it, let's understand what's being said. What's being said from our perspective is you ain't all the way one of us. That's kind of how it's framed. And is that you ain't kind of
Yeah,
all the way
I
one of us. And and,
I
and
can agree
so
with that.
and so when you live in an environment where outside of your culture, all the stuff, all the negative connotations of being a black person outside of your culture, you live with and you wear that. But then within your culture, you not only have that going on outside your culture, but then within the culture, you're not considered all the way one of everybody else that's within the culture. And that's even within the family dichotomy. Like that's among loved ones. That's among your peers. Um, and so while you even can be treated with love, respect, dignity, and all that, you're still treated differently. And it ain't always in a way of like, I mean, it ain't like you getting jobs from uh black people because you're light skinned. You're not getting jobs from black people because you light skinned, but you are getting jokes from black people because you light skinned. You are getting certain stigmas. My final point is this, and then you can have the floor and respond. We agree that, well, let me ask you, would you agree that acting light skinned is somehow um being overly sensitive, um being soft, uh maybe a little bit emotional? That's what, if and I'm talking in our community. I'm talking about right in our community. Somebody said, "Man, you acting light skinned. You acting light skinned." That's they talking about, you acting soft, you overly emotional, you sensitive, those type of things, right? We can agree on that?
Well, I agree with you on that. I will. That is, I guess, def derogatory, inflammatory, statement to place upon somebody when they say you acting light skinned, especially as a dark skinned guy, when that inflection can be placed even upon dark skinned brothers when they act or move a certain way where somebody say, "Oh, you acting light skinned." And but that
No, 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 I'm just saying you hear that though.
Oh,
You've
I haven't
heard you
heard.
acting
I
light
agree
skinned.
with you, and I'm just saying that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
I mean,
okay.
it's unfair sometimes. Um, but at least at least let me start with my limited amount of connection with or dealing with people from different states that I have even lived in Florida one time. Or stayed in Philadelphia. I was born in Philadelphia, but I don't visited different states in the United States. Well. And even growing up in the '80s, once upon a time, when you look, it seemed like all the artists like from Prince. That's what, and to bring up Mike, since I brought up Michael Jackson, that's why he fought so hard to do the skin transformation, because he wouldn't even felt like he couldn't make it, even in the black community, to a certain degree. He was frowned upon, looking like a little monkey boy. You know what I'm saying? Whatever like that, even within in the black community.
Oh, nah. I don't
Yeah,
believe that's why
I
he
mean,
he
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 was
did not
cherished.
he didn't he didn't he did not bleach his skin to be accepted in the black community, Lamont. No,
Oh,
he
okay
he
now.
bleached his skin
Okay,
to be
so
accepted in the
so
white
so
community.
I know
That's
no.
why he bleached his skin to be accepted in
Oh,
the
okay.
white community.
So now we still get back, even within today's, that thing still carries on. That thing still perpetuates with us today and within the things, even with our black community, where we don't even know where some of this even comes from. This uh uh, uh hatred, or that's a strong word, but dislike, or uh uh, uh affinity to this lighter skinned brothers, or lighter skinned African Americans want to this darker skin and all like that within our community, even to this day, because it's a perpetual thing that keeps on going. Which I stated from the beginning. I know I wasn't gonna go back there, but we still talking about today that we still carry on, no matter how much now we have educated ourselves. We have our own in a lot of communities and a lot of things in the world. We have established ourselves in our own culture, and even in the world culture. The world tries to invade and take pieces and bits and pieces of our culture that exists today. That that we still have this ongoing stigma that exists because of something that took place almost 400 years ago. Because to really be honest with even this argument or this debate that we having, we'll never be able to really get to the true sense of like who suffers more, because the real suffering, yes, within the strictly small black community, yes, I will agree with you that I feel like maybe the lighter skin has a harder time, because y'all are kind of
Understand.
we looking at like you said, you did make a statement like you not look like you not like us. In the words of Kendrick Lamar, you not like us, because we feel like your blood has been more tainted or diluted by the slave masters. You know what I'm saying? So you not really true. But but even in the world, even us darker skins here are looked upon different if we step on the motherland. But we're gonna stick over here in America right now. You know what I mean? That I understand that y'all have issues. Well, I believe it can be confusing. Like, I identify. Uh, 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 I know that America even identifies me as an African American, but even within my African American community, I'm frowned upon or looked down upon to a certain degree because I'm lighter. I get it, but also too, why I think the darker skinned African Americans today feel a certain kind of way, because when it all said and done, our community is a microcosm of the United States community or the world community, where we are still stepped on by people who can really control our destinies, our finances, our school, a lot of things. So we, in a sense, it's kind of like transference of the energy, because on the big scope, on the microscope, on the microcosmic scale, yes, we have a kind of dislike or a kind of ragging or dislike for lighter skin, and try to say like because we don't think they purely African because their blood is more diluted. So in the black community, yes, I will say I hate to say this, but I guess it would be kind of hard for a lighter skinned person within just since we're keeping it in just the scope of since we're keeping it just in the scope of the African American community in these United Snakes that we live in. I might have to concede that maybe
Hey,
I can
I
see the
mean,
point, because it is, because you gonna get it, because the Caucasians will still look at you. They might still, even over me and you, they still might choose you a little bit before me, but they still gonna consider you a black person or a nigga. But me, I'm straight nigga, and that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? So me now, I'm gonna mess with you, and they messing with you. You know what I'm saying? The Caucasian gonna mess with you, and because on the other end, the light skins ain't really messing with me as much, because but light skin too got they y'all, a lot of light skin people got their old monkey looking nigga.
I gotta say this though. What you just said, the line that you said, somebody probably somewhere in this country if they beefing with a dark skinned person, whatever, they might be saying that right now, right? But they gotta say that in closed doors. They gotta say that, you know, under their breath.
You
Or if
talking
they
about even
do
in the
say it
black
to somebody,
even within the black community? We talking
I'm
about the
talking
black
about in
community.
the black I'm talking about in the black community, a light skinned person that says that. Yes, somebody's probably saying it right now. Same way a white person is saying nigga in this living room right now. There's a light skinned person that's saying the line that you just said right now, but he's saying it with disdain, right? I'm
Yeah.
giving you that. I'm just saying that's a lot more rare than what a light skinned person experiences, which is going to work and any and everybody being comfortable saying whatever that has to do with your skin color. I agree. Somebody's saying that, but uh, when last time you heard it or somebody said it to you? I
I mean,
guarantee you.
I heard it, but I guess it just didn't carry that much steam because
Well, I'm saying when was the last time though? Was the last time you heard it?
well, oh, black monkey or something.
Yeah, when the last time you heard that?
I ain't heard
I
it, but I
guarantee
seen
you
it on the
this.
post. I seen it on the
Okay,
post
okay,
where our
okay,
president did. But
okay.
anyway, I'm not gonna
Look,
go there. But
I guarantee you this. Whatever the last time it was that you heard it, it was probably even longer before that you heard it even, before that.
yeah, it was
And
when I was
my
younger.
point
But hold
is,
up, hold. I will say, hold. This brought me back to being a young boy now, and in our black community, like we had the barges, the like I said, the princes. A lot of the singers and everything, the popular singers were light skinned back then. And in the 80s, especially in the 80s, at me growing up as a young man in the 80s and stuff, light skin was in. That's what they used to say. Light skin is in. Light skin win. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, you still
uh,
had you had your Teddy P's, you had your
yeah, but guess what though?
your Luther, you had your, you know, um
I
Freddie
mean,
Jackson.
Freddie Jackson wasn't really dark, but also too to give you even with you know what light skin, y'all even got your own category. I forgot to even brought this up. You know, even in
Okay.
the dichotomy of language, I mean of races, y'all got your own races. Mulatto.
I just thought that was I thought that was an Italian term for
No, that's
uh
really a
a
French
mixed
term.
person.
It's French.
Oh, it's French?
Mulatto.
Yeah, I'm not well versed
Yeah, so
uh
mulatto is the mixture of white
linguistically
and
speaking.
light and dark in the middle. When you're in the middle, mulatto.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a mixed person, like in whoever's language it was. I thought that was just a literal translation of a mixed person. Is it not? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I mean it's a mixed person, and you are.
No. See, there we go. See, there we,
Well, give me your
there
best.
we go.
Well, give
I'm
me your best.
actually.
Well, give me your best. Comeback for a daughter. We right here. This here. I know you got some. Oh, you don't
You're
want to be
not gonna,
canceled? You think
you're
you're gonna
not
be
gonna,
canceled if you did?
you're not gonna do that to me. No, no. But in all seriousness, though, I really don't. I'm not tuned. I'm not in dark skin joke shape.
I got
And I'm not even speaking from no high and mighty type of
you. I
position. I'm
get
just
you. I
talking
get you.
about I've always known growing up in a city like Washington D.C. That's not the way this joke flows. This joke
You
don't
know what?
flow that way.
But you know
This
what? By
joke
me
flows the
having,
other way.
but me having the jokes that I did and everything, and you not being in dark skin joke shape, and I'm in light skin, professional workout shape. You know what I mean? Only proves your point that it only adds to your point that
And
yeah,
that's big of you. That's big of you
sad to
to
say,
admit.
yeah, it's sad to say, but I mean, I'm also, it's sad, I hate to be, I'm honest, but I'm still an honest person. When you make a point, you make a point. No matter, I still, because of the life I have experienced down here in the South. I mean, DC is an anomaly all by itself. DC is an anomaly all by itself. That's why it even gets the name Chocolate City, and it's right there in the capital where mainly all the rulers or lawmakers are white majority. It ain't no ifs, ands, and buts. They the majority, the lawmakers. But outside of the Pennsylvania Avenue and everything is blackness. You know what I'm saying? But I guess the stigma that I faced up, I didn't live out them totally Jim Crow days that you spoke about to the harshness that they might have received it. But as a young boy, I remember I used to have to enter to the back door of Silver's. There used to be a department store downtown Spartanburg, and we used to have to get on the city bus, get off, and go from the backside and enter as a little boy. I remember that still. I remember when my mother used to take me to do it. It used to be a place called Kitty Corner that sold like polo, a lot of polo and high end stuff like that. My mother uh, sacrificed a lot to make sure I and my little brother was in those type of things. And they would just come and I'd go in the store and they'd pat me on the head. Oh, he's so nice and he's so, you know what I'm saying, like that. So I experienced some forms of racism in the South, in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Here's me. So
Hold on,
maybe
hold on. I'm not trying to minimize. I'm not trying to
it's
minimize
about
your
patting the pat
experience.
on the head.
Yeah, I'm talking about the fact.
Yeah, that's one of
So
the things that stick with
obviously
me
that
for
was
real.
no, yeah, that must. I'm about to say that must have stuck with you because to this day, that was your racism experience. So let me ask you at the time because just just the words you said, I'm trying to picture, you know, just the words you said. Somebody patting you in your head and said, "Oh, he's so nice."
Yeah.
The fact that you took that on because those words to me, if somebody was to write a transcript of that, whoever's reading the transcript is going to be slightly confused because they're going to hear pat me on my head and say he's so nice. What about that to you translated into racism? And I'm not
Well,
debating. I'm
it was a
not
couple
debating
times
that. I want to hear from you what how that translated into racism.
because I would go in other stores that predominantly African American stores.
And they didn't pat
Nobody
you on the head.
and nobody pat me on the head. They said nothing, but like, "You gonna buy it?" It almost sound like they were oriental. "You gonna buy it? Hurry up and buy it." You know what I'm saying? But but
Oh man.
so
Hey,
it stuck out,
that's funny.
and it stuck out and it stung because it was also a feeling, a look in the eye, but it was a couple of boys from time to time too, but I did get a lot of nice. He's so nice, but I did get a couple of he's a nice boy too. Nice
Was you a
boy.
boy?
Well, technically I was, but but I'm in
Oh.
the store with other little white kids my age, and nobody ain't patting them on the head.
So
So
to you that was a condescending pat.
yes, it
That
most
was like a
definitely was.
pat, like a pet. That was like
I
almost like a
would,
pet.
I would go to my grave still saying, feeling, believing, knowing that was condescending. Those pats that I was getting, and
What would you do?
I ain't do nothing. My mother had gave me that speech before I go in there. Just you know, uh, my black mother would give me that. Don't you say nothing. I got. Don't do just. So I used to get the little pep talk, the pep talk before I go in there, so to be on my best behavior. So I was nice, a nice boy.
So your mother prepped you for that by saying, "Don't say nothing." She was referring to whatever it is they about to do, they show their racist self. Don't you say nothing in response? That was the message?
Yeah, that was the message. Cause my mother, and you can go research this. Anybody from Spartanburg who maybe seen her, my mother and her best friend to this day were the first two blacks after they desegregated Spartanburg High School. They were the first two black women to walk on campus at Spartanburg High School. My mother, Barbara Allen, at the time. Go look up Barbara Allen. When they desegregated,
Where was everybody going before that?
or they went to Common Street School. It was all African American. It was African American high schools, African American, all African American. I went to all African American elementary that now exists, but it's not. It's still kind of considered, but now is integrated like crazy. Marriage Right. It was and Marriage Right Elementary was historically black elementary, but my mother was was the first, her and a friend girl, her friend girl, were the first two black females to step into Spartanburg High School when it got desegregated. Even after Brown versus Board of Education, Spartanburg High School still did not respect the Constitution's change that desegregate the schools. It took Spartanburg, so that was in 1954 when that passed. They didn't enter that school until 1964. 10 years after it had been passed. Spartanburg, South Carolina was still reluctantly and still predominantly like we ain't letting them black people in our schools. Till locally they had
Mm,
to eventually over time and pressure and everything like that, they happened. And my mother
mm.
relays a story to me like it was crazy, like it was a real hard situation for her and she didn't want to go. But the white guys were least superficially acting nice, but the white women were super terrible to them, spitting on them and trying to do stuff and every kind of stuff like that. So, um,
So obviously that was the decision to pass along that message to you was a decision that was rooted in probably love. I mean, not probably. A great
love,
percentage is love for her
protection,
child,
and protection.
protect love and protection for her child, but also kind of from a place, if I'm hearing you correctly, kind of from a place of fear
Yes,
based on her past experiences. So with that in mind, do you think it was um in hindsight, um do you think it was a correct way to go?
not in the way because the way I live life and the way the advances that we have made, even in our black community, in a lot of ways that we have made, even now, I I will have to digress and say I believe at that time it probably was right. But also too, now to still stick within our black community, and I think that's why I'm still tied into even with today, even at that time in the '60s, in the '70s, this uh this kind of light skin, dark skin thing that was existing within our own communities because even our own communities, once we started advancing in certain ways, because even the black doctors that I went to, Dr. Bull and all like that, and all like that, they were light, real light, because they had ended up going to medical school and everything, I guess, because it was easy for them to attain to go to medical school. They were real light, like you. You know what I mean? Almost, white. And then even in our black sororities and other colorism existed with even in our own, even in our higher institutions of learning that we even established, even in our own HBCUs. You know what I mean? Colorism existed. You know what I mean? You had like the elite black institution of fraternities and sororities. Cause even then, if you couldn't do this right here, if you couldn't do this right here, you wasn't in. They was even practice segregation. So we had to look at like that caused even more like, okay, you was able to make it because the white people gave you a chance to whoop the whoop. And now you're gonna try to stunt basically right now, you're gonna stunt and try to act highfalutin, high mighty on us within our own community, but you still black too. So I think that's what made some of the antagonizing or whatever like toward light skin because light skins were afforded certain things at the time, and even within them, they practiced a certain racism even toward dark skin. So I think that's what caused us. It's almost like the two brothers that gonna beef. They're gonna beef. They're the same brother, but one light, one light. We just gonna beef because we brothers, and because certain things happen to you, certain things happen to me. We just gonna be beefing. You know what I mean?
I'd be interested to know what was established first, those sororities slash fraternities that cater to the light skin or that cater to the dark. Because I know, I don't know how public it is, but I know that there are the the light skin frats versus and the dark skin, the predominantly, dark skin frats. But I'd be interested to know what came first. And the reason why I say that is it's kind
Well,
of related to the Bloods versus Crip thing where the Bloods was birthed from a position of needing to defend themselves against the Crips. So, if you telling me that predominantly if we're talking because again, we're talking within our community. So if we're talking among HBCUs,
yes,
at the
HBCU.
HBCU, if you saying that the fraternity that was predominantly dark skin came before the light skin one, then I can see the light skin one saying something like, "Hey, let's do the test." Because they
Okay, well,
tired of getting
and
bullied.
guess
They
what?
they they
Well, guess
tired of
what
getting
though?
bullied and stuff. They
You
want something that's I'm sorry, what?
Whoa, whoa, oh, okay. Mr. Chocolate City, DC,
Yeah.
Howard
Uh-huh.
University,
Yeah.
AKAs. Look it up. AKAs at Howard University when they finally got incorporated to start their sorority. They did the paper test. They only allowed lighter skinned girls in because they, you know what I mean? Because they felt like they were gonna only be able to get the chances to move up in society by being lighter and didn't want to take that. In Howard University, look it up. I'm challenging anybody again who's on there looking at this. Look it up.
You know what? I'll
Howard
go ahead
University,
and give you that.
AKAs.
I'd say that's probably
See?
true.
All that
I'd
right
say
there.
that's probably true. I say that's probably true. And as a person who grew up in Washington D.C. and grew up and was all around Howard University and things like that, I'd add this. Maybe those AKAs felt the need to establish themselves because all around college, they was in the HBCU, they was the white girls.
But guess what? Yeah, they
They was
was.
the
But
this, they was the that. It was something that you said about when you led into what you were just talking about with Howard University. You made mention of somebody. You said people who were not just light skinned but extremely light. And this what you said. You couldn't even make your point without saying, like almost white. There we so so again, again, another reminder that not even not that black, not even not that black, all the way to the extent of like you, almost white, thereby once again creating some uh alienation between you, not you, Lamont versus me, Lynwood,
yeah,
between a dark skinned person and a light skinned person. I got to make sure you almost white. You almost one of them. You almost one of them. And we grow up with that.
I know.
But you
But
know
yeah,
what? It ain't no sense in me dunking. It ain't no sense in me. You already gave me the win, so ain't no sense in me catching alley you dunking the
but guess what though?
basketball, going down. Shimmying down the court. Ain't no use to me shimmying down the court. You
I
already
mean,
gave me the
but
win. So
I'm just saying. I mean, for the map, for the point of what we were trying to say when you initially with the introduction of like who might have it tougher within the black community, our microcosm cosm of our community. Yes, I can see. I'm a realist enough to see where they come from. But the contention will always exist based upon something that was instituted when we were brought over here. Since the institution of slavery.
this is me, this is my personal opinion. I don't have no data to support this, but again, this is my personal opinion. I think it has everything to do with similar people once they become the majority. And it's not that they got any kind of hatred in their heart. It's just how it goes. They going to put some type of um pressure, and it's not even like terrible pressure or bad pressure, but they're gonna put they're gonna turn up the heat on whoever the minority is in this fashion. Check this out. Check this out. At work, whatever job you're working on, right? A person, people of average height. when somebody comes into the job and now a guy's extremely vertically challenged. I can think of one in my job right now.
Yeah.
You know what he gonna get? He gonna get
All the short jokes, all the
he
short jokes.
he gonna get clown. He gonna get clown for sure. You know, and but look how it goes both ways because like among a bunch of at Harvard, whoever the dumb dude is at Harvard that got in because his parents' name is who it is, right? He probably getting oppressed at Harvard. He probably getting called, all type of names that have something to do with the fact that he don't share their level of intelligence,
Yes.
right? By the same token, among a bunch of dumb people, if there's a smart dude, he probably getting the
Yeah.
this old
Yeah.
square and this old nerdy,
Yeah.
So to me, whatever the environment is, whoever's in that majority, they gonna put the pressure on who's the minority. Is my opinion. That's why I don't take up a
But
huge offense to it.
but guess what though? I'm talking all junk, and my son is extremely light skinned. Extremely light skinned. You know what I'm saying? One of my sons is extremely light
Yeah.
skinned. So so I know, but also too, what I am witnessing was even in our black community, there is a just so to speak of I hate to say that word, but a kind of like a it's and even worldly because of the mixing of cultures and everything like that. Lighter skin, lighter skin or fairer skin is really out here now. You know, even in the childbirth, in the recent childbirths that I have been seeing, even on the internet, from news, family members, the children are getting medium brown, lighter brown, light skin
Oh, we well, make no
within our
mistake about it. We on a little run right now. You had your little, you had a little good 8 month period with Kendrick and all them, but I don't know if
yeah,
you've been seeing what's going on. I mean, the Harris family is just dragging 50 Cent up and down Hollywood Boulevard. I mean,
yeah, for his complexion.
we it don't really have nothing to do with his see, like, again, we can't make them kind of jokes. We can't make them kind of jokes. We gotta come with we gotta be extraordinary within this community to really that's why you got you really got I don't know if you ever heard of this. I don't even know. Maybe I'll coin the term right now. We got light skin aggression out here, which is
Yeah.
like the equivalent of what's that word where it's like where they talk about how, Chihuahua with Chihuahua
Uh,
got that huge bark,
Napoleon complex, like a Napoleon complex.
Napoleon complex. They're like a Napoleon complex. Yeah, you got light skin aggression. They've been heard that light skinned people soft so long that they feel like they got to turn up even further just to show you I ain't light skinned.
I know that's
It's
what you
it's
just did
just
just now. You just did it to me just now. I just felt it. I felt the light skin
uh,
aggression. I just felt it.
really,
Yeah,
really.
because you popped your jacket and you did you okay. I got it. I
Oh
get
no,
it.
that was that. You know what that was,
I want
hey, that was no, that really wasn't light skin address.
I
That was
want no
just cool. That was just me.
I know. Okay,
That's
okay,
just
okay.
being cool.
I would say I ain't want no
That's just
white
a
smoke.
smooth.
I ain't want no white smoke.
Oh, see, white.
You know what I mean?
Hey, you know, black smoke, black smoke mean you gotta go get your emissions checked.
I know. But yeah, but also too with light white smoke, I mean the oil don't did something. The dark skinned people don't did something. I mean you got oil problems in your car if white smoke come out. You know what I mean? Blacks don't did something.
Hey, well, hey man, I appreciate you not being you know, bullheaded. But we had these side debates all the time. Yeah, I never feel like we debating for no reason because I feel like if a good point is made, you gonna acknowledge the good point. I'm gonna try to keep an open mind, but I also appreciate you acknowledging
Yeah.
that at
Okay.
least
Okay.
along this question.
For your inaugural, I guess for your inaugural debating podcast, I guess you can put a W. W it down. And of course, I'm gonna end it with a real mean joke, I guess, for white, W for white,
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
or almost white.
Let's hear it.
Let me stop, but like you say, you can't really. So it's kind of unfair because you can't come back and then you're not in dark skin joke shape like you already
That's
said. So,
hey, that's the way it's been. That's the way it's been since '78. So hey, I'm all hey, if you got to see
but you know what?
this has been my thing too. I definitely got a sense of humor. So one of my criterias as it relates to light skin jokes is that it be funny. If it's funny,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. But you
if it's
know what
funny,
though?
let's
But
hear it.
all jobs aside, I just think it's a deeper psychological thing that exists within us, in the black community that caused us, and especially in darker skin, where we, in a sense, are imparting our disdain, hatred, or anger towards another race, and because some may appear to be, linked to or closely resembling, that we may wrongly be transferring those type of feelings or energy toward lighter skin or the fairer skin African Americans. But so
Cool.
it's still based upon psychological trauma that was dealt upon us from over, and I'm still gonna stick with that. I'm still gonna be believing that this was something that started from slavery. So, and we, the same way it took 400 something years for this to be happening, it's gonna take almost 400 more to reverse this type of thinking and things like that. And I think we are getting there now. I think it's a little bit of a little better acceptance and less jokes and less opinions about the races, because now a lot of us, to be honest with you, race blending is going out the window now. You know what I'm saying? Because now that the world has opened up so much, you have multiple, multicultural relationships, multi racial relationships that exist, that is just springboard into basically a whole nother race. If you want to be honest with it, a whole nother race of people with all this cultural blending that's taking place in the world today.
I can't disagree with that. Can't
So
disagree with that.
So in a minute,
Agree.
maybe y'all light skinned people have jokes on all them kids. Y'all might find somebody y'all can pick on. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Yeah, that that hat to the back, gold chain and gold teeth is, that was
Very stereotypical.
that
I know.
yeah, that
Very
was very
stereotypical.
it was shocking. No, not
That was shocking.
shocking.
It's shocking to see a dark skinned dude with gold teeth and chain and a hat to the back. No, you don't say. I
What's
am
going on here?
I am quite appalled that you would think of me in that way. But anyway,
Hey, but look, if you let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Please do comment. Comments are welcome. Man, I got tough skin, so you know, if something I said made you mad, you want to express yourself, go ahead and express yourself. Just remember my email is Lamont McCravy at no, I'm just kidding.
yeah, nah, you can put it out there. But you know what? But I would also too uh welcome any comments. I know they'll get relayed to me. He knows how to forward whatever anything that y'all may have to say to disagree with me or be mad at me for some of my jokes I have made, especially near the end of this thing. But please remember, I did concede that I do understand and I do get it. So don't be so harsh on me. But but also too, I think I appreciate you allowing me to come in and express myself on your platform. Or um, I'm grateful to for the debate and the conversation that we just had. You know, what I mean, I guess we can agree to disagree on certain things and agree on a lot of things. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you for coming on, and we gotta do it again. On a topic maybe um I don't know how
Oh, no, we
I
you
got
know
a
what?
couple of things might
No,
get a little interesting.
no, I think from hearing you, I think what could be a follow-up to this if, get a follow-up to, I would love to hear the real light skin growing up in Chocolate City experience. And I wouldn't mind sharing, since I gave you a little tidbits and experience of growing up here down in the deeper South as a dark skinned man experience too. This could still it's still in the line of this line of African American, our community differences, and even regional differences that may take place, or things growing up in your area, growing up in DC, and me growing up here in South Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man, I definitely got some stories. Yeah, I definitely got some stories. Now, I don't wanna paint a false picture. I don't think I don't feel like I was, like, bullied and oppressed in some sort of fashion growing up where I grew up. I'm not saying that. I had many, 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 many friends who, who I interact with, who I, argue with, fought on behalf of, um, all of the above, all of the black experiences and all of the experiences of growing up as a kid in DC. I don't think I was cheated out of any of it. But everything I said in this episode still remains true in that regard, and I can get into some good stories behind those things too. But again, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate those of you who stuck through and watched it. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll try to get you some more content coming shortly. Anything you wanted to say? Anything else you wanted to say to the folks, Lamont? Lemon?
Uh, Undabu Jack, stay black.
Word, word, word. Piece of head grease.
If I had any.